Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. Hey, babies, hey, babies, hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. What's going on? Happy Thursday. Hello, everybody.
Going?
How's everybody doing out there? Great? Good? All good?
All
okay,
right.
good. Yeah,
All right.
okay, good. Today, wow, we're going to take a trip down memory lane. You know, my parents, I think a lot of people's parents, or in a younger generation, probably maybe grandparents, they will, when you ask them about certain events that happened in U.S. history, they'll know where they were. Like, they won't forget. And I think for my parents, it's like the day John F. Kennedy was assassinated or Martin Luther King. You could probably like pick those two major events, or John Lennon. I think for a lot of people, like when that was announced on Monday Night Football, that John Lennon had been shot. I think that there's these moments that happen, and maybe I'm just lucky, but mine, and I think there's a lot of people my age that agree with this. Mine is the verdict of the OJ Simpson trial. Like, it is clear as day, like where I was, what I was doing. And like, I don't think it's funny. I found the coverage of the news today of his passing at the age of 76 to be off. Like, there were a lot of people just talking about his football career. And it was really, it was so odd because his entire legacy to me is that trial.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
And like, it has, I don't dismiss he was an incredible football player or broadcaster or actor. You know, I don't know about incredible as an actor, but he was an actor,
but
and he had like, you know, great. He had great bit moments in the Naked Gun films.
Right.
Like, he had these moments. He was a great pitch man for Hertz, specifically rental cars and other things, and he was really a major success story on so many levels, and came off as, and this is where I think you learned, and I think now that we have social media, it's hard to maintain an image without it being tarnished in some way. He had a very pristine image, like almost like American Dream type person. And when everybody found out what he did, it was a shock, like beyond a shock of what he did, because you just couldn't picture it. Like, it couldn't have been him. You know, it was like one of those, like, everything he did was right. Like, there was nothing he could have done that was possibly wrong. And it was a shock. And then the trial, I can't, like, for people my age, I can't, like, for people who aren't of this age, I was talking to you before the show for a couple minutes.
Yep. Right.
This is really kind of, you know, before your time. How old were you when this happened?
The trial, I was 6 years old. So, I mean,
6. So you don't have any memory of this.
No,
right. You don't have any memory of this.
No, like I think there was a tangible time when I was a kid that I didn't know why OJ was famous, and at some point it clicked. Oh, he was good at football. Like trial came first, football player came second. And I remember, like, I don't remember how old I was, but I was probably like 9 or 10 when I realized that, like, oh, that's why you people cared about what this trial was. Like, why and how you know who he is. I was like, oh, that's why he's such a big deal. Like, it literally transcended to the point where I didn't know why he was famous when it was first happening. So, yeah.
So the coverage is funny. It's been, in my opinion, like way off today watching it. There have been so many people who I've just seen sending condolences, which I think are fine, you know, but like ignoring the murdering part of it.
Right.
And it's like, I'm like watching this going, wait a minute. Like I'm okay with like condolences for his family or whatever. But have you all forgotten why he is synonymous to the degree that he is? Like, he is the encapsulation of someone who literally got away with murder. And everybody knows it. Everybody acknowledges it. It just is what it is. He got away with murder. And it's of his ex-wife. It's... And I can't describe for you, like, for people my age, that trial was must-see television for months. Yeah. I mean, days on end. people literally sat at home and watched Court TV or CNN or whatever was airing it live. And it had to have been one of the most daily watched things ever. I mean, I can't even imagine it wouldn't have been. The entire country was transfixed by it, like just completely, literally transfixed by it. So that when the day came that the jury was going to reach a verdict and they announced it, I'm telling you, the world stopped, like completely stopped. And then the reactions to it were, how do I put this? Predictable. They were predictable. They were kind of, if you weren't aware of the racial divide to the degree that it exists, that it existed, and it even exists now, you found out in that moment how big a divide there still was. And it was eye-opening. Like, there were, when he got, I mean, I don't think anybody could have watched it, the trial, and come away with any other conclusion that he murdered two people. Like, there's zero doubt, right? Zero doubt that he did, right? And he's never admitted it, since he never has. But when he got off, when the jury announced this, there were like watch parties going on, and all of the white people were shaking their head like, I can't believe this. And there were like crowds of African Americans like cheering as if it like symbolized like a make good that was overdue forever. And it was just, it's a moment in time that I'll never forget, that is the moment for me that I go, I remember exactly where I was. I believe it's a historic moment in the United States history. I think it's a case that's been studied less for the actual forensics, the details, but the cultural meaning behind it, because it really had so much more to do with him and his star status and racial grievances from eons ago, that that's what it ended up being about, than what it truly was just about. He killed his ex-wife and some guy who, it seems, happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And it's really, today's coverage of it was, I couldn't believe how many people were just kind of ignoring the murder part of the whole thing.
Right.
Like, it was just like, what is going on here? Like, how can you not start with the murder part of it? And then if you want to mention the football career, which wasn't good, it was astronomically great.
Right. Hall of Fame level. Yeah.
Hall of Fame level, I would argue he might be one of the top 5 running backs ever. He might be one of the greatest players ever. Like, he was that kind of player, like ridiculously great. And maybe one of the most well-liked celebrities in the history of sports. He crossed over like almost nobody did into broadcasting, into acting. Like, Michael Strahan's been able to do this. John Cena's been able to do this. Tom Brady's been trying and somewhat doing. Peyton Manning has done this. That's OJ. Same thing. Like, has completely crossed over into mainstream culture. Like, that's how big a deal, how well-liked he was, how charismatic he was, what a big deal he was. And then when people found out he was a double murderer, it was like complete literal shock. Like, that can't possibly be the same guy. Like, it can't be.
I was talking to Andy Pollin when we were crossing over between his show and me filling in for Tony, and he said one of his favorite memories, and he tweeted this, so I don't mind just, sharing this. They were in the bullpen, and it was him and Tony Kornheiser, and I think he said there was one other person, and when they flashed up on the screen that OJ was a suspect, Tony yelled at the TV and said, "There's no way he's a suspect," because of how beloved he was at the time, and the image of him was, there was no way he could do that. And I think the takeaway too, I think Tony said this was, well, now we don't really know anybody anymore. Was that essentially this was our first foray into just because somebody's a celebrity doesn't mean everything's all squeaky clean.
It's funny, like I saw Andy tweet that out. I'm glad you brought that up, that he said that. And it's a snapshot in time, because like nowadays, because of social media, like I think you get to know all of these celebrities very differently now
for sure.
than you ever did then. Like the brand and the image could be manicured and hidden to some degree, you know, like back then, because there was no internet. There may have been paparazzi, but they're taking pictures for magazines and newspapers, and you don't really know these people. But it's funny that you brought that up, because I remember, like, at the time, that is how all of us felt.
Right.
Like, all of us felt this way. But if you think about that now, like, Tony might be an exception to this. He may have literally met or spent time with OJ Simpson, but probably not a lot.
Yeah, right.
And, like, that was the way people kind of thought about celebrities or certain people, by what they saw on television gave you a glimpse of who they were, but that's never reality. And it's interesting. I think reality television and social media has literally changed all of that. That, like, I don't think people automatically believe the veneer of celebrity any longer. And now that people can, like, literally get to know them either by communicating with them directly on social media, or how many people can write about them constantly on social media, it's hard to build up the type of image that would be shattered by doing something as gravely gross as what he did.
Right.
And it is a sign of the times, but it's funny because, like, when I saw that tweet, I go, well, maybe Tony met him a few times. He probably did, you know, because Tony's one of the few people that might have been able to do it. But there's no way he spent a lot of time with him to know him.
No.
To know him.
Yep.
And I think, like, but his point is well received for me, in that was a naive time when you believed what you saw on television of certain people.
Exactly. There wasn't this manipulation.
He must be a great guy.
Yes, exactly right.
Look at OJ. He's a success story.
Yep.
A great athlete, turned into an actor, a broadcaster. Everything he does touches the gold. He's great at it. Seems big smile on his face. Everybody likes him.
That's right. Yep.
Turns out
Not so fast,
OJ had a dark side.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
A really dark side. And it was eye-opening. And it just, on so many levels, it is such a unique American story. And I actually found it fitting that, like, I saw this today, that a number of people started tweeting, like, a video that he posts. I don't follow him on social media, but he, like, once he got out of prison, he was tweeting again a lot. We actually made fun of it a few times on this show, where he was, like, tweeting things like, it's your guy, OJ.
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Like, please don't talk about me. I don't want you to. I don't want anyone to think I'm associated with you. But, like, apparently he recently put out a video denying that he was in failing health, and that he, like, making fun of the fact that he was like, people are saying I'm going into hospice. I'm not going into hospice, which may or may not be true, but he died, you know, obviously from cancer in short order. And I found it very fitting that he even lied about the end of his life. Like, I was just like, that seems extremely fitting that he would lie as he went out.
Right.
And he was lying about his own personal health, let alone the bigger things that he lied about, you know, throughout the course of his life.
No, exactly. Because I think I sent that to you, and it was just kind of like par for the course. This is what that one was. Par for the course.
I'm fine, guys.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
He was not
until
fine.
I'm not.
Right.
Until I'm not. It was that trial, the characters from that trial, like, stand out to me. It was you couldn't have scripted this. It was incredible. Like, it was better than any crime show that was possible on TV. You were transfixed by it. It was amazing. The lawyers for the state and for, you know, the victims, like, could not have been more overmatched than the group of people, the dream team of lawyers that OJ had, the mistakes that they made, the judge who seemingly was enjoying the idea of being a celebrity at the time, one of the police officers, an LAPD cop who was branded as a racist, and as it turned out, probably was, you know, like, probably was. The friends that he had, the strange guy who lived in his pool house, Kato Kalin, like, who like ended up being his drug mule that, like, we found out about, but he never would have killed anybody. He just, like, was as surprised as anybody that OJ would kill somebody.
Yeah.
But I went and got his drugs for him for his parties and all that type of stuff. like the characters in all of this were amazing. I remember after the trial ended, all these people were famous, like Johnny Cochran became the most famous lawyer in America at the time. He had others like Barry Scheck. DNA evidence was not a thing in criminal trials back then, not regularly and not on this level. Barry Scheck elevated DNA evidence into it. Johnny Cochran's performance was better than most you'd see in a movie. In his opening statements and his closing statements and all the theatrics that they did when they made OJ put the glove on. And then the poor lawyers for the state, Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden, who were just so outmatched by this. And at every turn, we're making these mistakes. And America was literally watching them make the mistakes,
right,
and commenting on it. It was a moment that was impossible to really describe unless you lived through it. And I don't think we would have something like this again. Like, take Puff Daddy. I think this is a good, clearly, this is not a very good person.
Right.
I don't know what he did. I'm not accusing him of any of the things that they say he did. I do know that he's had multiple houses swept by authorities, but
doesn't sound good overall.
It doesn't sound good, right? It doesn't sound good. I'm sure whatever the fallout is, his reputation, whether his livelihood is gone, his reputation is going to be gone, no matter what.
Right.
Okay, that's going to end here. Well, it's not like everybody was so convinced because he did really cool vodka ads and people liked his old music and he seemed to be smiling all the time. There wasn't this veneer of, oh, that can't possibly be true. Because when that stuff came out, it was a surprise to see that the authorities went to that length to search his properties. But were you stunned?
Right. Tons of people going, yep, that's why you don't party with Diddy. That was
right.
it was known but not known,
Correct.
Yeah.
Like the two that were the shock of shocks were OJ and Bill Cosby. Those were the two people and even with Bill Cosby, there was a lot of rumors about him for years and years and years about what he would do. But he had such an incredible reputation. And what you saw on TV was this really jovial, very welcoming, father-like figure.
Yep.
And when all that stuff came out to the degree that it came out, we were like, whoa. But that even after OJ, when his reputation was protected by the fact that social media didn't exist. And I'm not sure the reaction to OJ in 2024 would be the same as it was in 1994, I guess is my point. And that's why it is a case study that's hard to explain to young people who didn't grow up without the internet. It's impossible to explain how big a deal this was, what a complete shock it was, what a cultural phenomenon the trial was, and how the verdict shaped American politics, in racial relations. It was all of it. It was literally all of it. It's incredible.
Yeah. No, I think I saw a few people throw that out there. If the police chase had happened on Twitter today, you would have a better understanding of how big this guy was back then now, essentially, is what people were saying.
They broke into the NBA Finals to show you the chase of the white Bronco, which wasn't even really a chase. He was driving very slowly, but he was supposedly had a gun to his head the whole time.
Exactly.
And then people finally got wind of what was going on, and there were people on the overpasses cheering this. That's how slow it was actually going. People had time to realize what was happening, go to an overpass, and get there before the car got there.
Right. Exactly.
It was amazing. I saw a 10-minute clip of Norm Macdonald doing jokes about it that he used to do. I mean, it made his career. He was doing the Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live. I think after a while, I think one of the reasons why he got fired was they kept telling him, you have to stop doing OJ jokes, because he did so many of them for so long. And it just, he was like the perfect Weekend Update anchor, because he would read the stories as a perfect anchor with these horrible punchlines attached to them. It was really amazing. So I saw that. I remember Howard Stern somehow getting onto the nightly news and doing a fake person watching Al Cowlings and OJ in the driveway, and then Al Michaels having to call into Peter Jennings' show to tell him that was a prank call because he listens to Howard Stern's show. Like, the level of cultural phenomenon that this was is impossible to describe. Like, it literally was everything for months and months and months. Everybody watched this trial. Everybody stopped to watch this verdict, and the aftermath of the verdict was amazing. And then everything that happened since, I mean, he ended up going to jail anyway because for a crime that I don't even, like, everyone agrees was his right to go get his stuff back. Yeah. But because he took a gun with him, and that's against the law, obviously, in Nevada, they found a reason to put him in jail.
Yep.
Like, everything about it is, it's something. It's impossible to really kind of describe. So when I saw that he passed away today, I'm like, oh my God, like, it just drew up literally everything. It is one of the probably 5 or 6 keystone touch points of my life. Like, I remember everything about that time period because of it. Not that, like, I feel like it should, but it did. That's what it did. It is. I'll never forget that time. Like, because of him. It's really amazing. Mm-hmm. It is. All right. Do you say R.I.P.? Do you say that to this? I don't even know.
Well, if you want me to pull the curtain back a little bit, I've had to have a back and forth to, the Caps are playing in Buffalo tonight. We're like, are the Sabres going to do like a moment of silence for him? Like, and I was like, the people that I'm talking to are like, there's no way, right? And I'm like, I don't know. He's a Hall of Fame running back that played in Buffalo. Like, I don't know. I legitimately don't know the logistics of this.
Like, do the Bills or the 49ers put out tweets today?
I didn't see the Bills because I did check the Bills.
Does USC do it? Is USC going to do it?
Heisman did. Heisman did. Yeah, they said, like, we mourn the loss of OJ, which, by the way, then just fired up the masses of, cool, are you going to give Reggie Bush his Heisman back? Because this guy still had it. So, like, USC
there
did
was
not.
That period of time where they're like, one USC running back has his Heisman. He killed 2 people. The other USC running back doesn't, and because they gave him a little bit of money, he can't keep it.
Correct. Yeah. USC football did not. The Bills did not. I doubt if either of those two than the Niners.
I mean, just for the sake of what are you going to read in the comments, it just feels like it's probably not the day to do that.
I think it was either the Heisman or another one where they had to disable the comments. Yes, they turned off the comments on it because things got ugly fast.
Too, first incarnation of my show back in the early 2000s, there was a show that was created starring OJ called You Got Juiced. And the creator of the show was doing like the media rounds and came on and did an interview about it. And it was like 20 minutes of him saying like what life is like shooting a prank television show where OJ pranks other people for 20 minutes. Like among the things that OJ would do in this show was try to get people to buy a used white Ford Bronco. He would dress up and try to trick people and then, try to scare people because he's OJ. And the stories this guy told about being with him every day where he would just watch court TV and it didn't matter what the case was. OJ would just stare at the TV and then just blurt out, watch, they're going to bring me up and somehow loop me into this case now. And he goes, sure enough, every time, almost as if he knew when it was going to happen. It didn't matter what the case was. The hosts on court TV would bring up OJ in some way. Like, we need to remind people that we exist because of OJ. It's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
It's a crazy time. All right, let me take a quick break. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Throwback Thursday is 1995 because that is the year that the OJ Simpson trial ended, October of that year. I was in my first job at a college at that point. I was working at CNN downtown, CNN Washington, where I was like an entry level, what they called AP associate producer. So my job basically was to watch things that happened in Congress mainly, or hearings or things like that, and then tell a real producer if something semi-newsworthy happened, and then they would decide whether it was newsworthy enough to pass it up the chain to the producers of the shows and stuff like that. That was my first job in media, was at CNN. So as you might imagine, the OJ Simpson trial was a big deal, and the place stopped for the verdict. Everybody stopped, and I was probably the weirdest place in America to be at the time, because I was in a working newsroom. The second the announcement was read, everybody just scurried right back to work. There was no actual reaction to it.
Yeah, right.
Then we saw all of the, video from around the country of everybody reacting to it, and, it was across the spectrum of what you might expect people might think about all of this.
Sure.
So it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Speaking of, OJ's, no, what am I talking about? Where are we?
Gears.
Shifting gears. Masters. First round in progress. Here's your leader, Bryson DeChambeau, 5 under through 15. So great start for him, early going. Ryan Fox, 4 under through 13. 2 players at 3 under, Danny Willett and Byung-Hun An, 3 under, both on the back 9. There's a bunch of players at 2 under, including John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, and Will Zalatoris. Tiger Woods hasn't started yet. He tees off close to about 4 o'clock today, round 1 of the Masters. All right. I was off yesterday because I was in Boston with my son. I got to go to opening day for the Red Sox and the Orioles. Well, I bought tickets. So I went to Red Sox and Orioles opening day Fenway because my son and I like to do an annual, this is a new thing now, second year we've done this, annual dad-son trip. And of course, I want to base it around some kind of sporting event. And last year we went to Pittsburgh to go see Caps and Penguins. I had never actually seen a Penguins game in Pittsburgh. So I'm like, you know what? Like, before these two retire, let me go see them play each other up there once. Sure. So we went and did that last year, did a Pittsburgh trip and went to that. This year, it just happened. The Orioles were the opening day opponent at Fenway. I'd been to Fenway before, my son hadn't, and it's just a magical experience. The ballpark is just incredible. And I want to see what opening day Fenway would be like. I think you did this a few years ago, right? You did when the Nationals happened to do Fenway Park. Yeah, so when the Nationals opened up, that was 2015. It was actually Scherzer's first year with the Nationals. Yeah, I went up there. And in similar fashion as you, by the way, like, you got to see the 20th anniversary of the 2004 team, which I didn't. Yes. Like, of course, because we aren't Boston fans. So, like, I didn't put it together. You'd get to see that. In a similar fashion, they brought out the Patriots with all 3 Super Bowl trophies that they had won up to that point. And it was like, oh, this is sports mecca right now. And you got to see a very similar thing. So we both got to see very Bostonian moments to open up, their season at home. And yeah, there's really nothing like it. Like, it's tough to describe how magical that place is, especially when they bring out a bunch of stars from former championship teams. So, all right, let me ask you about this, because it was billed as we're going to celebrate the 2004 World Series team, the team that, ended the curse. Yes. That's the first World Series championship. Sure. And, a good portion of the team was there. I couldn't count how many, but most of them came out. Yep. David Ortiz was there. Yep. Couldn't miss him, Sure. But they also billed this as one of the major members of that team, Tim Wakefield, had passed away. Yes. Recently. Right. They actually gave out pins, like a heart pin in Red Sox colors with his number, 49, on a pin. It was actually very nice. I have that. They did a very moving tribute to him and his wife, who I didn't realize also passed away. Yeah. Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. She passed away like a few months later. They have young-ish children, not little kids, but young-ish children, the kids throughout the first pitch, which I thought was really nice and very touching that they did that. And they did, the whole, opening day ceremony. Larry Lucchino died, who actually had a lot to do with Camden Yards too. Yep. Larry Lucchino died. So they, sent a tribute to him. And then, they brought out the 2014, but all they really did was run out onto the field. That was it. Yeah. So I was a little surprised by that. Like, they brought them there. They're celebrating the win. They showed a very long, it was like an 8-minute video of that season, like a very long video tribute to them. And then, like, they didn't have them say anything, which I'm not totally surprised, but I don't know. I mean, it was the first one in, whatever it was, 80 something years, whatever it was. And I don't know, like, something was off about it. Like, they didn't throw out the first pitch. They didn't really do anything. They didn't introduce any of them. Like, you didn't know except for Big Papi, you can't miss. Like, you didn't know who they were. Like, you couldn't tell. They barely showed them. It was it was odd, actually.
So it was funny on our airwaves. Of course, like this part of the reason why you went up. It was an afternoon game. Jeff Arnold, who I know you saw up there, he did a pregame interview with Kevin Millar, and he was asking Kevin, because Kevin, of course, also played for the Orioles for a year or two, I believe, before he retired, but also was on that 2004 team, and he was kind of talking with him, and Millar kept bringing the conversation back to Wakefield. So I got the vibe that they must have shifted. They wanted to actually honor Wakefield and his wife more than celebrate the 20th anniversary team, at least for opening day. Because you know how this works, too. My guess is they're doing a bunch of different events throughout the year. I mean, my guess, there's no way they're going to do just one thing on that team. I mean, that team is, of the modern era, one of the most, if not the most historic win outside of the Cubs winning the World Series. That was the beginning of them becoming a dynasty. So my guess is there's probably other events on the docket that they didn't need to make it all about that team. I had Millar.
So why didn't they wait until they were playing the Cardinals or someone like that who they beat in the World Series and have it so that it – because it really, honestly, like, I'm not complaining.
Yep.
Like, it was like they did too many things. They brought out this World Series team, and I'm telling you, it was like just a passing acknowledgement that they were there. Mm-hmm. Like, you would have thought the whole day would have been about them. It was kind of strange, actually.
I mean, my guess is there's just going to be more of it. Like, it's not like celebrating like Redskins Super Bowls. I'm sure there's not too many celebrations that you can have with this team. So I mean,
it's possible too that they started reaching out to these guys last year, knowing it's the 20th anniversary.
Yep.
Said we want you to come to opening day, and then were surprised by the news of Tim Wakefield, and then decided they needed to do something, had to shift, I guess. And they shifted towards it, and it was very heavy about him. I didn't realize how much he did in the community, how beloved he was in their community. So listen, I'm not complaining about it, but it was odd. They just all kind of came out and waved at everybody. That was it. Then they just moved on. That park, by the way, if you have not gone, it's amazing. And I would also reiterate, the opening day experience there, you'll love the sport again. If you go and see a baseball game played in that park, everything about it's magic. The dimensions of it, it feels small, but it's actually big. It's funny, we were there very early. When the players take batting practice, you realize how big it is because everything dies in right center field because everything looks, it's almost like an optical illusion. Everything looks closer than it is.
Sure, yeah.
And things kind of die in right center field. We had a beautiful day. It was sunny and 60 degrees. It's gorgeous. The place is a step back in time. There's kind of nothing like around that stadium, especially on opening day. My son's eyes were popping out of his head, like hadn't been to an experience like that.
Sure.
It was very cool. And then the Orioles just boat raced them, and Corbin Burns started just mowing them down. And their team is terrible.
It's not good.
Really, it's kind of embarrassingly bad. It's really. I mean, I know they got some bad luck. Trevor Story got hurt and Giolito got hurt. So clearly have had some bad luck, but that team is going to be bad. There's no way around it. Even my son was like, hitters 5 through 9. He's like, who are these people?
Right. No, I mean, that's
and then they were like a joke, the other two, error after error. Yeah. And then it got to the point where I was watching this going, I think Burns could strike out all of them. They had completely checked out in the middle of it because they just realized they weren't going to be able to hit them. It was crazy.
No, I mean that's what Red Sox fans, I'm sure you heard it. They openly complain about that team, and they literally we were sitting here before one of the shows, and you're like, oh, I wonder if I can get tickets. I was like, no, they're not good. You can definitely get tickets because the fans are revolting. I don't know.
It's funny. I got asked. They were like, how'd you get tickets? And I go, I just bought them. And they were like, how? And I'm like, through the team. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, they went on sale and I bought them. Yeah. And I had great seats. I was sitting I don't know, not between the dugout and home plate.
Yeah,
I had great seats.
Yeah, no, and that's what I've said to people is that fan base is fickle in a good way. That if they see that the front office and the players are bringing it, and even if the record isn't good, they will still continue to buy tickets and support the team. But if they see that the front office isn't really trying, and they see the roster is kind of lackluster with guys that are just filling in, that fan base has no problem saying, nah, I'm good. I don't need to buy those tickets. And I told you that straight up. And that's when you got onto their website and just bought them, because that's how that fan base is. And I don't blame them at all, because that ownership group has done them a disservice, essentially, of how the team has been run. They've had a reset
in recent years.
Right. No, I know. But like, they've had these weird reset years where they don't sign anybody. They trade Mookie Betts. Like, I don't know. There's a little Nationals is what's happened with them, honestly. Like, they were this winning team, and then they just tore it down and then decided not to build it back up, or at least take their time with building it back up. And those people up there, they're not going to be patient with that. They're going to be pissed. So, yeah.
Then the other story, obviously, is Jackson Holiday came up.
Yep. Missed it by a day.
We didn't see this up. I missed it by a day. That's too bad. We could have caught his debut. That's too bad. Missed it by a day. He gets called up. I saw Matt Kemp write a very nice thing about him, where he was like, did you see that?
Yeah, no, because
he replaced him on the roster.
Yeah, CFA'd. Yeah, exactly.
And he wrote a really nice thing about it. He wrote some tweet that was like, in whatever year I was at this camp, and the Holiday family was like, one of them was the hitting coach, and this little kid showed up with this sweet swing, and he's like, and I knew it then, like one of those type of things. And he's like, good luck, go get him. I thought it was for someone who was basically lost his job, that was a really, really nice thing to say. Or Tony Kemp, so it was. Yeah. And Matt Kemp's the Dodger. So now, like, I guess they've had a slow-ish start, and they've decided to unleash the Kraken now, because they're calling them up, and eventually, I don't know how they avoid having most of those guys come up, and let's see what the lineup looks like by the end of it, because they have what appears to be the makings of one of the best lineups ever, if these guys are clicking at any point in time, and it's just getting started with their age. So I'm glad. Bring them up. Let's go. Let's not waste any time, guys. Let's go.
The other part about this, too, that was smartly done, was they called him up quite literally the day before the cutoff line, where the MLB has this new rule now where if a player plays a certain amount of games or is up for a certain amount of days, and then they win, they'll be eligible to win Rookie of the Year, right? So if they win Rookie of the Year and he's age, I think it's 23 and younger, which would qualify Holiday as that. If Holiday goes on to win Rookie of the Year at this time in his service, the Orioles are awarded a first-round pick. So this was the play the entire time now, is what everybody was saying. They wanted to put him down at AAA, make sure he was legitimately good to go, and then get him that call-up right before the cutoff time. So now if Holiday does go on to win Rookie of the Year, no big deal. Orioles are handed another first-round pick. So that's exactly what the plan was from the beginning. They want him to win Rookie of the Year.
Well, I'm glad, because like Major League Baseball should do something about these guys getting stashed to get stashed because they're holding back for service time. No, put your best players out there. I mean, what was happening on that Norfolk team was ridiculous.
Sure.
So obviously these guys should be playing, and unleash the Kraken, boys. Let's go. Let's find out what we got.
Right.
So I'm excited about that. All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram wants to show ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. This is a great song, Hootie and the Blowfish, from back in 1995. Throwback Thursday today to look back on the year. It was October of that year that the OJ Simpson trial ended, and a verdict that America stopped and watched occurred as the former football star turned actor, turned broadcaster, turned massive celebrity accused murderer was found not guilty of killing his ex-wife. And I'm not even really sure why Ron Goldman was there. I don't even think to this day we're not sure why he was there. Did she just leave her glasses at the restaurant? Did he follow her home? Like, was she close with him? Nobody really totally, I think, knows the nature of the relationship between Ron Goldman, who also died on the front lawn of her house. OJ acted like a guilty person for months, then went to trial, and all the evidence seemed to suggest he did it, but he was acquitted of the murder.
Yep.
Famously, he tried to put on a glove that didn't fit his hand. And if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Right.
Johnny Cochran became maybe the most famous lawyer in modern times with his oration techniques. Boy, he was incredible. He was an incredible presenter for sure. All right, let's see. At the Masters, Bryson DeChambeau, 6 under par through 16, lone leader. First player done up for the day is Danny Willett, 4 under 68, so 2 shots back currently. Ryan Fox and Byung-Hun An are both also 4 under par. Both are on the back 9. Thorborn Olesen is at through 16 at 2 under par. Large group at 2 under par, including the defending champ John Rahm and Scotty Scheffler. Tiger Woods is scheduled to tee off in about 10 minutes or so for his first round today. All right, let's get into one other baseball story, which is we're getting more clear the depths of which the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani bet on sports, but it appears, and this is good news for everybody involved, not baseball. So that's the good news.
Yep.
But the volume and price tag of it is outrageous. Let's see. Jeff Passan just tweeted out this one piece from what I guess is the indictment that was put out against not Ohtani, his interpreter, who's the one who's, as everyone is pointing to, is bet on the sports. And most of it through illegal means, by the way, which is important here. Let's see. Approximately 19,000 bets between December 2021 and January 2024 occurred, and nearly 25 per day. The wagers reflected in the records ranged in value from roughly $10,000 to $160,000 per bet, with an average bet amount of roughly $12,800. During this period, the total winning bets over $142 million, total losing bets $182 million, a net balance negative $40 million. Came out today that it wasn't 5 or 6 million that was somehow siphoned out of Ohtani's bank account. It was more like 16.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Everybody's got their jokes of how did you lose $16 million and not notice it? And I think that's more than a joke. It's a serious question. How did you not see $16 million fall out of your account?
Well, it's not like it's 16 million at once. It's
sure.
It's little by little here and there. Like I'm not throwing that the numbers aren't big that he was betting on, but I'm just pointing out that it's not like it was 16 million in one lump sum all of a sudden.
Okay, think about it this way. They're talking about dates 2021 to 2024.
Yep.
It came out, 5 million was gone. It actually turned out to be 5 million per year.
Right. Yes. No, exactly.
Now, here's the other big question. $16 million we know of was taken out of Ohtani's account to pay for the losses here, which totaled somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 million. How did he get the other $24 million?
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
Or did he just owe that?
Right. That could be on top of all of it. Yeah, I have no idea.
Did the bookie could just be like, I know I'm not collecting all of this.
Right.
And I'll just take whatever I can get.
Yeah. No, it definitely could be that. And especially because if you know who this guy is, you're going, he's going to keep betting and keep giving me money. So, there's no reason to cut him off, I guess, essentially, is what I'm getting at here. And clearly, by the way, he's not good at gambling either.
No, he's terrible at it.
So if you're the bookie, you're actually going, I'll just kind of let him keep throwing the money at me regardless. He just gets a discounted rate because I know he's going to keep going back to the guy that I know is making a crap ton of money, essentially. So, yeah, that's how it reads to me, is that essentially they were going, we know we're taking a loss with this guy, but we know he's also got a gambling problem. So why should I cut him off when he's just going to keep handing me checks anyways?
By the way, 25 bets per day. Guy.
That's so ridiculous.
You can't like anything that much.
That's so ridiculous.
You're not even doing any research at this point.
That's darts against the wall, man. Like that is one. And I do want to, like, they are saying
that's just reading every game and going, fine, I'll take the Grizzlies, the Jazz,
correct,
the Rockets. Like, not even thinking about it.
Oh wait, Premier League's on today too. Let me bet every single game in that.
Oh yeah. West Ham.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm getting at here too. They did say it's not on baseball, but I'm also kind of like, 25 bets a day. Can I see what he was betting on first though? Because I do want to see. Does he have rugby picks? Because you could only bet on so much at once. Like, it's a ridiculous amount of betting that wasn't on baseball that is played every single day. So, yeah, pretty crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, it sounds like it is actually heading towards absolving Ohtani.
Mm-hmm. No, because I mean it's a federal investigation. This isn't just like some random investigation that the team is putting on. It's a federal investigation. So, I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
You know me, I don't like to accuse anybody of anything, but I will tell you when something's hard to believe. And when that story first came out, boy, that was hard to believe.
I agree.
Real hard to believe.
Yeah.
But more and more and more, this is heading down a path of this guy was nuts, had an addiction like I've never seen in my life.
Yep.
Somehow got away with stealing an amount of money that I can't believe someone wouldn't notice being missing from their accounts. But there it is in black and white from the federal authorities saying that that's what happened here.
Well, and if you read into the story too, like he was actually impersonating Ohtani to get the money wired too. Like there was a story that basically said like when the bank was getting called, he knew how to get the money, impersonated Ohtani, and said it was for like a car loan or something. Like that's what was happening here. So clearly he had a system too. And I'm going to guess if you're Ohtani as well, if you think your finances are locked down, you're probably looking at some of those numbers and going, okay, I guess for some reason that money was taken out for X, Y, or Z. Or you might not even have been looking at his account like that every single day. So
I've seen a couple people like tweet out this thing too. Watch the 30 for 30 broke, which is about a number of the athletes that made a lot of money and lost a lot of money. And in a couple of the cases, not all of them, some of them just spent the money unwisely, on like crazy things, either like bad investments or boats or bad, overpaid for houses, cars, all that type of stuff, or like crazy weekends, like whatever. But then there are the other ones that were like this a little bit, where they're like, I gave my money manager access to my account.
Yep.
And it's like, why in the world would you ever do that?
Right.
Why would you give anybody access to your account like that? Like never. Yep. Like they should only, especially when you have millions and millions of dollars in it. Like, come on.
Yep.
And your interpreter happens to bet a lot. Maybe you shouldn't give him access to your account.
That's right. Exactly. And the interpreter also had the money line too of basically, I guess they caught him. I don't know if it was a text or it was a phone conversation where the bookie was like, oh, I know you're just the fall guy. And the literal quote is, no, I stole money for him. I'm finished. Like that was the quote from the translator. So, I mean, yeah, he fully admitted that he stole the money as well.
The other gambling story is the guy from the Raptors. Adam Silver came out pretty hard and said, you broke the cardinal sin. So if we prove you did what you did, and all signs lead to, we know what you did.
That's right.
Which is he took himself out of games where there was some abnormal betting on unders of his player props, and all of a sudden his eye hurt, and he had to get out of a game so that clearly he couldn't hit but he had to started the game, but he left before any of the unders were hit. It's pretty, the evidence is mounting. Adam Silver says he's going to kick him out of the league.
Yeah, no,
and
he should. I mean,
for good.
Yeah, no.
I think it's the right thing to do.
No, 100%. I mean, this is the most egregious one we've gotten. Outside of the NFL ones where guys were betting, but they weren't playing, or they were betting in the team facility, but they weren't even betting on football. That's a weird gray area, and I understand, and they suspended them, and they're going to be brought back, all right? And Ridley was suspended for a year. I think he learned his lesson. This is the one where you cannot let him back in the league. Like, you have to set an example of him that he is banned. He cannot play in the league anymore because he literally was betting on himself and then affecting the game line as he could. Yeah, this is one where you can't budge. I mean, there's no other option, and that's on him. I mean, that's a dumb thing to do at the end of the day. Yeah. So yeah, I'm good on Silver for throwing out there that he's probably done for
I think he needs to send a message.
Yes, he does.
This is not going to be tolerated. This is what happens to you if you do this.
Yep, that's right. Exactly.
Period.
Yep.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram wants to show ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Throwback Thursday, 1995, as we look back on the year that the OJ Simpson murder trial came to a close. OJ was acquitted in the murder trial. It kind of stopped America for a period of time. And today, at the age of 76, his family announced that he died due to cancer. He had announced he had gotten prostate cancer a few months ago, had been proclaiming that his health was fine. And in the end, it wasn't. And he passed away today. You just sent me this, and I'm very upset reading this.
Yeah.
That Kevin McClinton, who played for Maryland and at my high school, Springbrook High School, he was a little bit older than me. So he preceded me by a year or two, maybe. I'm not even sure. He might have been there when I was a freshman. He might have been a senior. His younger brother, Darren, played, was a little bit younger than me, apparently passed away at the age of 52.
Yep.
His dad, of course, was a famous Redskins player, Harold McClinton. Kevin and Darren were both outstanding athletes, outstanding basketball players. Kevin played at Maryland. Darren played at JMU. Both tremendous basketball players. And Kevin and Darren were doing a podcast for my company, Empire, for a period of time about Maryland basketball. And we got around to the pandemic and things got really complicated. So they just kind of stopped doing it at the time. But I loved working with them when they were doing that because there wasn't much coverage of Maryland basketball. And they coach kids and they know the game and know the area, know the sport. And so it was a great show. I wish it had continued because I really enjoyed working with them. And I've known Kevin for a very long time. Callow, I spoke to him 2 weeks ago.
Oh, man.
He called me because he was working on a project with Walt Williams and he was asking for a connection, to somebody at the Preakness because they're trying to do, I don't even remember exactly what it was, but he was looking for a connection. I just talked to him 2 weeks ago and, not that I would know anybody's health or anything, but he sounded fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously I don't know the cause. It just says that he passed away. But this is terrible news.
Yeah, and
terrible news.
I hadn't heard anything about it either. That's why I said it to you because I had no idea anything. It didn't seem like anything was wrong, so that was a shock to me too. And I know somebody that was local, so yeah.
Talked to him multiple times over the last couple of months. We'd stayed in touch, even after we had gotten together to do because he wanted to do the podcast, and we worked together for a while. I loved the show that he was doing with his brother, and then that stopped, so we didn't speak for a little while. But then we were in touch all the time. Just kind of checking in with each other. And I'm telling you, I talked to him 2 weeks ago about this one thing and a couple months before that about something else. And I'm stunned to see this. He's a very young man and he's got 2 kids. And so to his family and his friends, this is terrible, terrible, terrible news. Yeah. He was such a huge sports fan, such a huge DMV sports enthusiast, DMV hoops enthusiast, wanted nothing more than our area to be great at sports, especially Maryland, obviously. But he's like me. He's wanted to wave the flag a lot for the area. Loved being from here, loved waving the flag for the area. It's a loss. Terrible.
For sure.
All right, let's get back into all the other things going on. Okay, your dream is about to come true. We're 2 weeks away from the draft, so we can stop talking about it.
2 weeks from today.
I like you want to get it over with now.
Yep.
Because I've come to terms with my choices, and I've come to terms with my choice may not be the selection, but that's fine because I'm actually okay with the alternative, to be honest. But and I'll leave it up to them to decide, what's what. But we're now in crazy times, which is, let's see. Jaden Daniels has to address whether he doesn't want to go to Washington because some people are speculating that his meetings didn't go well here and he'd rather play in New England because he knows he's not going to the Bears because the Bears are selecting Caleb Williams. So he has to address that and kind of doesn't. Then does a video with his teammate, Malik Neighbors, and Neighbors hints, I know where you're going, and you're going to get back together with one of your old ex-players, which would insinuate Brandon Ayuk. But where would that happen? I don't know. No one seems to know what that means.
Right.
He also, and then the tweet was, he insinuates he's not going to Washington, but he never says anything like that.
Correct.
So we're at end times where everybody starts throwing a lot of stuff on the wall that's actually scary now. Scary.
No, we are a full lying season now. I don't know who's saying this or why they're saying it, but I think this was our first instance of oh, come on. That was the first reaction of really? Why do you want to go to New England over Washington? What do they have in particular that you'd want to go there over here? Who's saying that? Is that New England trying to scare the Commanders? Is it because they don't want another team to trade up to number 2? There's all these feelers that go out right away when that happens, and all it really does boil down to is we're in full lying season now. We are trying to get the sabotage to happen that they don't draft him number 2. We don't even know if he's the number 2 overall pick, by the way. That's the funny part.
It's full sabotage. Is full. It's full sabotage. Now, everyone has seemed to come to terms with Caleb is not is being selected by the Bears, and that's it.
Yes.
And there's just nothing you could do or say to make anything else happen. Then that's the outcome. And I think people have just kind of come to terms with it. So we're the target now.
Yes.
Everybody is just slinging the arrows at us now. I'll reiterate what I felt all along. I came to this 6 weeks ago. I'm like, if it's up to me, just off the tape, I'm taking Jaden Daniels. I mean,
sure.
That's just where I am. I think he's got a higher ceiling. I mean, people keep talking about May getting this higher ceiling, and then they always throw out this caveat, it's going to take a while before he gets to it. Okay, well, I don't like that. I like the guy who's ready to play right now and will get better as he goes along from the jump. So, that's not this whole, you could win now at Daniels, you could win later with May. Who made up that crazy talk? What are you talking about? Drake May's played as many college football games as Jay Daniels has. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
He's been the quarterback there for 3 years. What are we talking about?
Yeah, the only thing I will say on that one is I think what everyone's getting at is Jaden can use his athleticism faster to be more effective than May can.
Sure.
But I'm with you. What does win now and win later mean? Are we talking 8 games here? Because what's the real difference there in a long-term NFL career at that point? If that's what we're talking about, are we saying Drake May needs to sit for half a year? Okay, there's no difference then really in the two of them. So there's
there are 5 franchises that are willing to be patient enough to find out which guy I can win later with. By the way,
right? Yes, yeah, totally. 100%.
Let's see. The Green Bay Packers have done it successfully with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love.
Yep.
It also helps that they have Hall of Fame quarterbacks playing for them at the time that aren't washed.
That's right.
So they actually have the ability to do something like that.
That's right.
The Steelers seem extremely, except in the case of Pickett, but it sounds like Pickett bought himself a ticket out of town.
That's right.
Really more than anything.
Yeah, exactly.
He got so weird, he just wanted out of town so fast. They're like, fine, buddy, we don't hold hostages. Go ahead.
Yep,
exactly. Get out of here. If you don't want to be here, we don't want you here. That's it. So, and I'm okay with that. But other than that, they seem to be willing to be very stable. Their front office very stable. The coaching staff very stable. They'd be willing to do so. Who are the other teams we're talking about here that are willing to develop a quarterback for any period of time without everybody getting all crazy if it doesn't go well fast and everyone doesn't get fired? What are we talking about here?
I guess technically the Giants. I mean, they did start Eli when they drafted Dimes, right? I mean...
Right, but Eli was washed. I mean, we all knew that.
For sure, but they didn't start him right
we
away.
knew that Eli was done. It was just a matter of when, and so they tried to slow roll Dimes into it, which is what you want to do.
Sure. No, and I would say
we can't do that. No one else does that. Who does that?
Well, and I would argue the Colts tried to do it with Richardson, but Richardson won the job. So he actually passed that test there. But yeah, I'm with you. There's not a lot of them that are actually going to.
No, there's not. So this whole stop telling me he's going to be great in 3 years, and this guy's going to be good in year 1, but that guy will be better in year 3. What are you talking about? Not buying. Thanks. I'll go with the guy you think could win right now. By the way,
right?
I'll take that guy. Let's see. Jaden's coming in Monday, according to Schefter.
Yep.
Drake May's to follow, and then for all of you conspiracy theorists, JJ McCarthy is visiting next week. So.
They're just doing their due diligence. Due diligence.
Here's the deal. The Bears are meeting with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is meeting with nobody else.
Yeah, right.
That's happening.
Yep.
Now, we need to meet with 2 people just in case, right? Jaden Daniels and Drake May. Because we have the number 2 pick and because I don't think we're trading it, we actually don't need to meet with 3 people. So... I'm just saying we don't need to meet with 3 people, but we're doing so. So I will just keep my thoughts on all that mainly to myself because we are meeting with 3 people late in the process.
Correct. Look, this is just they're doing their due diligence. I've said this before.
In all likelihood, the first 2 we're meeting with are both going to be available to us.
Correct.
But on the just in case something crazy happens and Chicago changes their mind, we will have met with the other guy.
Well, well, it's also if Minnesota offers you 16 first-round picks, you have met with the 3rd guy is what I'm getting at here too, or 4th guy, I guess technically would be on this as well. So I'm just saying they've done, but there's no one should panic on who's actually visiting here. Have we even talked about who else is visiting that isn't the quarterbacks? Are they doing visits with any other players?
Yeah, there's a lot of top 30 visits that have occurred, yes.
So that's what I'm getting at here, too. No one's freaking out that they're, meeting with Joe Alt. No one's freaking out that they're meeting with another offensive lineman or something.
If we told you we're picking Joe Alt with the number 2 pick, you might.
Correct, but they're not. This is the whole point. Just because they're meeting with someone doesn't mean that they're actually picking them with the second overall pick. They are just saying they are getting to know these players. This has been said for years and years that sometimes these visits are actually for when those players become available, whether it's a trade or free agency. You already are familiar with the player by the time that it comes around that you can bring them in, by different means. So I don't even put much stock into it. This is why I'm so sick of the draft. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. That's what I'm getting at here. These visits don't matter when it comes to like showing your hand of who you're going to draft or who you're not going to draft.
I do really believe they ought to flip the schedule and the draft should go before free agency.
I don't know. I do. It's pick your poison. One's going to affect the other.
Correct.
I don't know. I think free agency first is fine. I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
Speaking of the Vikings, their GM did do a press conference today. His quotes were particularly cryptic, but they were also a little telling because he was asked about doing risky things.
Right.
And he admitted that he doesn't mind doing risky things.
Correct, yeah.
Of which I would describe as you already have, your team looks it. So, because you let Kirk walk without a sufficient answer on the other side. Typically, you want to have plan B. Sell me on Sam Darnold all you want. But when you offer somebody 4 first-round picks to get one of these guys that we're talking about, it's going to look like that's not exactly what your plan B was really supposed to be. So they're squirrely. And the question is it so overwhelming that we just do it? And if it is, okay, maybe there is a reason to meet with JJ because the first thing we're getting is number 11 and whatever else they're giving us. And let me see if I have this right. They're coming up to us to get Jaden Daniels or Drake May. They're not coming up to get him.
That's right. Yep.
At number 3, I think they're probably praying it's Drake May because New England will take Jaden Daniels, will run the card up so fast that you won't even, your head will spin.
Yep, exactly.
So they'll take him. So then comes 4. Do the Giants really love J.J. McCarthy that much? Because if they don't, or does the Raiders really love him that much to actually trade up to get him? I don't know, and I doubt it. So at 4, the Cardinals, I think, just end up taking Marvin Harrison and being happy about it. At 5, the Chargers could take Neighbors or Joe Alt or whatever they want. They're feeling good. They can do whatever they want. The Giants, who made a point of saying, listen, we're not just looking for quarterbacks here, could take McCarthy, could take the Washington receiver, could take best defensive player on the board. They could do a lot of things. They potentially could trade out at that point. Atlanta, not taking a quarterback. They're going to take best defensive player on the board if that's what actually happens to them. And now suddenly we're just 2 or 3 picks away from either McCarthy or Penix.
Right. Correct.
So if Minnesota's nuts and they want to give you something that's very, 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 very hard to turn down, would you be okay with 3 to 4 first-round picks and Michael Penix? Because that's how it would land.
I would be. I'd be fine with that. I've said
notice,
this. Yeah, good.
He's not taking one of these visits.
Correct. That doesn't, once again, it doesn't mean anything. We've had guys get drafted when they haven't even had visits. We've had players say that in the past. So, I don't know. This seems like a nice veteran group with Quinn and Peters that maybe they have their eye on somebody and they're comfortable drafting one of those guys without actually having to meet with them again, for a final visit. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think we're still listening, right? I mean, how are we not? If they're going to get, their GM is now actively kind of saying, hey guys, we're down to party.
Yes.
I don't know how you don't pick up the phone from them. The Raiders have gone a little quiet, and maybe the Raiders are like, we're not going to do anything nuts, are we? The Vikings are itching like a team that wants to do something nuts.
Well, I think the Raiders would. There's just not enough there for them. They can't give up enough to actually make it happen. That's right. That's what my takeaway is for the Raiders. I think they'd love to, but they're not willing to make the risk, essentially, unlike what the Vikings GM said today.
I mean, if someone came to them with 4 first-round picks, it's going to be very hard to turn that down.
Correct. Yeah, especially with all the holes that are on this team. I mean, like I've been saying that for months now. Like, there's so many holes on this team. Like, I know they filled it in with solid players, but you've got to think Peters and company, the pitch is going to be, this is going to set us up really nicely into the future. And if we see a quarterback next year that we want, we're going to have the ammo to trade up and get him anyways, right? Like, I get it. Like, if they want one of these guys, they should take them. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to what these teams are going to start offering you. So it's not my first choice, but I will totally understand if they actually.
It's not my first choice either. It's not my first choice either. But the Vikings sound desperate.
Yes, right. Exactly.
And like desperation's an interesting thing.
Right.
So I want to see what that looks like.
Yep. Right.
What if it's Bo Nix and 4 first-round picks?
Not Bo Nix. I'd rather not pick anybody than pick Bo Nix.
I'll tell you, I would take a shot on Penix if that's what it was.
Yeah, so would I. I wouldn't mind Penix. Yeah, I think Penix is.
I would
take
a shot on that. Yeah. I don't know how high. I probably would have to be like 11 to do it.
Right.
But I would be. He's the one of the. Oh, really? You guys don't like him? Like, he's the one where I'm like, I don't know. Like, he might turn out to be pretty good. You might get a value on him.
Right.
But I want to get paid the price for that.
No, of course.
For sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're getting a haul to still take him and then still are set up to take another quarterback if he doesn't work out. Yes, for sure.
I think the Vikings are probably, and this is the desperation probably partially is, how is Justin Jefferson not saying to them, you better do something?
I mean, maybe he is. And that's why.
And maybe that's what some of this is.
And that's why they're alluding to, we're going to, we're not afraid to do risky things. And they could also just be saying that to placate him and not do it anyways. Like, that could also be a part of all of this.
Well, I mean, they could try to do it. We have to say yes. We may not say yes. That's like, right. Who knows?
Right. No, exactly. And they that way they can go turn around and say to him, hey, look, man, we tried. No one wanted to actually do it. We get into the Ron scenario again, where Ron's going, hey, guys, we're ready and single and ready to mingle. Who's got a quarterback that wants to come here? And everyone's going, why would we give you a quarterback when we have a quarterback, right? So, like, I think that's just all it is, too. It's that public perception that, you are actually trying. So
he did say one other thing, the GM. And this is the thing I hate when I hear this. He said, we love a lot of different prospects at quarterback.
Yeah. Right.
And I went, no, you don't. Or if you do, then why are you even thinking about trading? Why don't you just stay at 11 then? If you like all of them and you think you could turn any of them into stars, why are you even talking about this?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's your problem? You're going to get Penix or Bo Nix right there. They're going to be there for you.
Right.
Maybe even McCarthy. That's possible.
Maybe.
That's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
If nobody trades up to get him, he may be there at 11 for you. So what are you worried about?
No, for sure. Yeah.
No, liars. Good luck, guys. Good luck with that.